Hey viewers, and welcome back to another episode of Kyle's Reviews. Well, in today's topic we have Nimona. Around the beginnings of the 2020 decade, it was starting to be set up by Blue Sky as they announced that they're making a Nimona film based on the books itself, which I never read, which of course this means that I'm a bit new to the franchise, and this film is going to be my starting point for it. But as things were going good for Blue Sky in the production by 75% complete of the Nimona picture, Disney stepped in and decided to cancel the Nimona project in order by shutting down the Blue Sky studio. And sure, as years go by, it might have seemed hopeless, but until around the late 2022 decade, year, my bad. Well, Netflix and Annapurna step in order to finish what they have started. And even sure, it has some poor marketing like most anime films usually do, like Elemental and Ruby Gem and Teenage Kraken. And there is still some hope that this film could turn out to be fire. So, was the wait worth it? Plot of the film is well, sure it's about Nimona, but it starts off with Battlestar becoming the next knight until one incident happened where she accidentally or maybe could have killed the queen, and everyone excuses him as being a criminal. But before stunning him with Nimona, they work together while also bonding in order to get Battlestar from being from a wanted criminal to actually become the knight that he's supposed to be. And to be honest, in the first half, things do kind of rush itself a bit too much. Sure, the first half does establish on who the characters are, what the situation is, and how the story is gonna go. But I think it goes like that a little too quickly. In fact, that makes the first half feel rushed and not really, and it is a bit energetic as Nimona is, which can be a bit of a problem for the film at the start. But as the film continues, it is in the second half. That is where things start to get better for the film itself. As soon as the film continues, we do get to learn more about who Nimona is and how she became as she is mostly seen as a monster in the first place. But that gives out the message that even if people see you as a monster, you're not entirely one. Because mostly people call her monster due to her abilities, but it's who she is that actually makes her more human than the other people are. That goes to give the film a good amount of emotion that actually could give out a good of a tear breaker. And I'll say down that the Mona is a good example on how the movie can actually give out a bit of a sad moment, especially with its scenes where she's bonded with Ballister, and it basically shows on how their friendship will go throughout the entirety of the future. And I know people could be mostly watching this film just for the action scenes, and they are engaging too. But it's the emotions and the engagement between Nimona and Ballister that actually does set up the mood quite well for the film. And it is the main focus and besides the plot itself. And sure, there is also the humor, and maybe it wasn't as great as first in the first half, but it does lie much in the mood whenever Nimona wants to spit out a joke in her mouth. Okay, not in that way, but it is still humorous after all. And the way that Nimona is treated is basically how people would see autistic / transgender / non-binary people, which does help out to bring the message more polite and actually does a great representation for LGBTQ, which can be improved on this film, of course. And sure, it may start off a bit wild at first, but as the film continues, it does start to get better. Of course, with great story, it also comes with great characters too. These characters do stand out in the plot, it's a bit obvious since it is about them, but the actors do give them some spirit into them. The most standout stars is, of course, the main two actors, Chloe Grace Moretz as Nimona, and Riz Ahmed as, Ballister. And they do the best jobs in their performance compared to others. The others are still good, but these two stand out like some solid people. Or solid actors, if for that point. Starting off with the title character, Nimona is basically the troublemaking shapeshifter that enjoys getting themselves into trouble, and whenever she is stuck in a situation, knows the way to get out of there in order to avoid the chaos that's about to happen. And sure, people always view Nimona as a monster, but even if they do view her as one, she isn't really one, since she does still have feelings. Because basically in her past, she also has been treated like shy as well, seen as the outcast role with her, and how even her abilities make her look like a monster. But that's why she teamed up with Barrister, just so that she will actually doesn't feel alone and doesn't feel like the only person in the same situation as Barrister is, which does make up a good bonding between the two, and actually does suit well as a role on how autistic people and along with transgender non-binaries get treated. Along with Barrister Blackheart, he was about to ready to be the next knight until one incident happened, as I said, with the Queen, where he lost everything, especially getting more chance to be with his boyfriend, Ambrosius. Even sure, it gets his more time to be with Nimona and actually start to see more light in day and actually have fun with it. Along with Ambrosius, Barrister's boyfriend, well, he has the toughest decision, and either to follow the king's rules, or either to follow his heart and actually stick by Barrister's side, right? Which can get emotional heavy at times. And as these characters are saw themselves, I cannot say the same with Todd, since he's basically the typical high school bully jock attitude, type of character. And sure, it is done on purpose, but I just hate him for all the wrong reasons, where his moments are at the worst timing possible. And the humor is kind of weak due to Todd. I mean, the humor is still good, but most of the jokes from Todd are absolute dog water. And then there's the director, who after the Queen's died, the director is now the ruler, and as she is quite wanted to take down the monsters and villains as they come to. I mean, sure, I wouldn't reveal too much of spoilers, but if you know, you know. And as I said before, these characters are still solid themselves, but they do have that extra trait to make them stand out as one of Blue Sky's most memorable characters. However, with all the great elements in this film, the best standout part of the film is the animation, which is probably Blue Sky's most outstanding visuals they've done since the Peanuts movie. And sure, it does have that Spider-Verse feel to it, like the mix of 2D and 3D, but I wouldn't say that it is mostly 2D, since it does have that 3D feel to it, and even that comic book filter feeling to it as well. No. And the film does have some different uses of type of visuals put into this, with art pieces and all that. Or mostly flaws and all that. You can think of it yourself. The character designs do have, as I said with the character designs, they do have that comic book stylized feel to it that isn't really too cartoony, and it's actually quite fluid. It's along with the character animation, where it is smoothly and quite expressive. The most standout, and probably the character that stands out most with the movements, is Nimona herself, mostly through the uses of her animal shaping abilities, or even herself that has her moments, of course. And even for the backgrounds, that actually do set up the nice visuals of the futuristic mix with nitro themes to it, especially with the cultural impact, like the BEC, like the Silver Age, Golden Age, Bronze Age. You can think of anything with it. And of course, the action scenes are basically what this film needs, since it is an action-filled movie, even if this film is mostly focused on the emotions and the humor itself. And the action scenes do play up the intensity and with the humor as well, that actually has a good balance between the two as well. And even through the uses of effects. I mean, sure, there isn't a whole lot that appeals out through the film, but it's mostly to whatever Nimona does, as I said, is what makes this film stand out on itself. Sure, Blue Sky does have some great animation as they do in the films, even for the Peanuts movie, that's probably the best animation, but as Nimona came out, it took that title. Overall, Nimona is a fun and action-packed feature that is definitely worth the Blue Sky's final, basically Blue Sky is well Swan Song, of course. Well, it basically counts as their best picture since the Peanuts movie, with some outstanding visuals, as a nice Spider-Verse feel to it, an engaging and humorous story with nice comedy, some great characters with great LGBTQ representation, along with great actors and action scenes. I mean, sure, it may be shocking that I might be actually praising this film a lot, but that's the thing. This film is that good, and it's definitely worth the goodbyes for Blue Sky. And of course, just like I did with Spider-Verse, I'm definitely giving this the seal of masterpiece. One of the most outstanding animated films of 2023, and I couldn't be happier. But all I can say now is thank you, Blue Sky. Thank you for being a part of our childhood and into our hearts, where you bring us one of the most memorable projects out there, such as Rio, the Peanuts movie, Ice Age, and of course, Nimona. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is